welcome back to our map making series for Map of the Month, Maps for the Classroom. We started this new map, it's called Oceanside, and we went through the first video and did a few things, and now we're going to work on another 10-minute interval and do a little bit more work on the map. Let's go over what we did real quick. We simply colored in the title a little bit, added a little decoration. We labeled and did a little bit of coloring on the compass rose. We labeled the first symbol in the key called village, and we actually pinpointed those various villages and highlighted them to make them stand out a little bit better. Okay, now at the end of the last video, we added a little color to the water body symbol, which is going to be a great way to begin this next part of the map. And why don't we start off with a small water body first. Right about here we have Deep Lake on this fictional map called Oceanside. What is a fictional map? A fictional map is kind of a made-up place, and even though it does have a little bit of parts of the map that do reflect on a real place in the world, it is pretty much a fictional map, which we can even add different things to the map. If we wanted to add other villages or other bodies of water to our map, we could do that. I could put in another little pond close to Deep Lake too. I could put another little pond right about here. Looks kind of like Deep Lake, but smaller. Okay, we'll come up with a name for that lake later on. Now notice I'm not coloring over the letters. I'm kind of avoiding the letters. I think that makes the map a little easier to read. Okay, excellent. All right, so there we have Deep Lake. Now, if you notice in the key, these next four symbols, or next three symbols at least, have a lot to do with natural features. Water body, swamp, and forest. So we might actually talk about all three of those facets of the map as we color in some of the water bodies. Now, let's start off with the river. Well, we did Deep Lake. Well, let's jump to the river now. And you can see this, not this double line, but this wider double line right here. That represents a river, and I know that because it's labeled Pawcatuck River. So you can see it labeled right along the river. And this river flows in an east-west direction, and then it veers over and heads south. And you can see, like all rivers, it eventually empties into the ocean down at the bottom. But we've got quite a bit of river to shade in now. Don't press too hard on your pencil, just nice and light. And try to make it a nice even shading of blue. I wonder how long that river is altogether. Well, we could figure that out by looking at our scale of miles. Right about here we have a scale of miles, and if I put my finger and thumb here, that's about 2 miles. So 2 miles, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. That river is roughly 18 miles long based on this scale of miles. So that's a great tool that you can use whenever you're measuring distance on the map. Okay, I'm going to just work on. Now, as we're going along the river here, just notice as the river kind of meanders back and forth, try to stay inside the lines. You don't want to color over the lines. Stay within the banks of the river. And although there are some swampy areas, like you see that next symbol in the key, swamp. We do have some swamp or wetland areas along that river, and that's probably a case of the river overflowing sometimes and collecting in that low area, that wetland or marsh or swamp. That's one of the great things about swamps or wetlands. They kind of collect that extra water that might overflow from the river or the lake during a storm or a rainy season. If you don't have swamps, you're going to have a lot of flooding. Swamps are a great flood control, and you don't want all that extra water ending up into the neighborhoods or in your basement, or on flooding out the roads or the parking lots. So many different places that water could end up. That's the great thing about swamps. Swamps are also a great habitat for so many different types of animals, not just alligators, but birds and turtles and insects and all kinds of animals. You can talk about that in class with your teacher. Now, as I get a little, I only want to go to this road. That's a good stopping point. And I do know that if I compare this road to this road that crosses the river as well, I notice that this road doesn't have that little bridge symbol. If you look in the key, there's a little bridge symbol right here. And this road has it, but this road does not. So I think I'm going to add that in. I think you can do that too. If you want to start with a regular pencil first, you can just kind of practice making that little triangle shape. Some little lines coming down. And now that I've got it, I'm going to go over it with a darker color. Okay, that's a bridge symbol. Yeah, notice now we have 1, 2, 3 bridges all together. This looks like a railroad bridge. Okay, so let's color all the way up to that river, that bridge. All right, great. Okay, now we talked about the swamps and the forest areas. I think green is a great color to work on the swamps with. So let's put a little green in the swamp symbol, and let's go over to the map and just put a little dab of green on each one of those little swamp symbols, or you can call it a marsh or a wetland, whatever you want to call it. And we have quite a bit of swampy area along that river, and also by Deep Lake. And we could put some around that other body of water that we drew in too, if you want. Looks like a line with some grass coming off the top. Let's add a little color to that. Okay. Maybe you want to put a few swampy area, a little bit of swamp symbols up here too. Throw in some up here as well. Okay. Green is a great color for land areas, and if you wanted to throw a little bit of water, blue in there, just to kind of show that it's a kind of a wet, swampy area, that wouldn't hurt either. Some swamps dry up during the summer months, but many wetlands are wet throughout the year, so you can put a little bit of blue in there. All right. Excellent. Now, if you notice, I've got some of these little trees here. That represents the forest, and we could use a little brown and green for that. Let's do some brown for the trunks of the trees and some green for the foliage. All right, great. And we only put one forest in, but I'm sure we could put some wooded areas throughout the map, other places too. All right, and that's 3 different natural resources that we added to our map: bodies of water, swamp, and forest. Okay, well, that's a good place to stop, and we can pick it up again on the next video. Thanks for working along with me, and look forward to working with you again shortly.